There comes a moment in life when you realize something painful. The world does not always care how good your intentions are. You can have a kind heart, a sincere spirit, and a desire to do the right thing, and still be tested, rejected, betrayed, ignored, and pushed to your limits. And when those moments come, you have a choice. You can allow pain to make you weak, or you can allow it to make you stronger. But understand this clearly: becoming ruthless does not mean becoming cruel. It does not mean hurting people, destroying relationships, or losing your humanity. True ruthlessness means becoming unwilling to betray yourself. It means having the courage to say no when everything inside you wants to seek approval. It means walking away when your peace is constantly being disturbed. It means continuing when your emotions are begging you to quit. Because the world will test you. It will test your patience when nothing seems to change. It will test your discipline when nobody is watching. It will test your character when taking the easy path would be more comfortable. And sometimes the greatest battle will not be against another person. It will be against the weaker version of yourself. The version that makes excuses. The version that waits for motivation. The version that keeps saying tomorrow. But tomorrow does not build your life. Your decisions today do. So perhaps the question is not, how can I make life easier? Perhaps the better question is, how strong must I become so that difficulty can no longer control me? That is where real transformation begins. You stop asking the world to treat you gently, and you start training yourself to remain steady when the world becomes difficult. You stop chasing everyone's approval, and you start becoming loyal to your own principles. You stop running from discomfort, and you begin understanding that discomfort can be your teacher. You do not need a harder heart. You need a stronger mind. You need discipline when your feelings become unstable. You need silence when anger wants to speak. You need patience when results are slow. You need courage when fear tells you to retreat. Because life does not promise that you will never be broken. But you can become the kind of person who knows how to rebuild. So today, listen carefully, not because these words will magically change your life, but because they may challenge you to change the way you face it. The world may try to break you. Let it discover that you have learned how to stand. The first battle you must win is not against the world. It is against the excuses you have been carrying inside yourself. Every day, your mind gives you reasons to delay, to stop, to choose comfort, to remain exactly where you are. Sometimes those reasons sound reasonable. I am tired. I will start tomorrow. I need more time. I am not ready. Other people have better opportunities. And because these excuses often sound logical, you begin to believe them. But an excuse repeated long enough can become a prison. Being ruthless with your excuses does not mean becoming cruel to yourself. It means becoming completely honest with yourself. It means looking at your life without blaming everyone else and asking a difficult question: what am I doing that is keeping me where I am? That question can hurt because responsibility is uncomfortable. It is easier to blame circumstances. It is easier to blame your past, your family, your failures, your lack of opportunities, or the people who disappointed you. Sometimes those things genuinely hurt you. Sometimes life gives you an unfair beginning. But if you allow your circumstances to become your permanent identity, you give your past control over your future. You cannot always control what happened to you, but you can begin controlling what you do next. This is where discipline becomes more powerful than motivation. Motivation is emotional. It comes and goes. One day you feel inspired, and the next day you feel exhausted. If your progress depends entirely on how you feel, your progress will always be unstable. Discipline says, I will do it anyway. When you do not feel like working, you work. When you do not feel like learning, you learn. When you want to quit, you take one more step. When nobody is watching, you still keep your promise to yourself. That is what it means to become ruthless with your excuses. You stop asking your emotions for permission. Think about how many opportunities are lost because people wait until they feel ready. They wait for confidence before taking action. They wait for the perfect time. They wait until fear disappears. But confidence often comes after action, not before it. You become confident because you repeatedly prove to yourself that you can handle difficult things. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you strengthen your identity. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you teach your mind that your own words cannot be trusted. This is why small actions matter. Waking up when you said you would, finishing the task you wanted to avoid, studying when entertainment is calling, exercising when your body wants comfort, staying focused when distractions are everywhere. These may look like ordinary decisions, but they are building something much deeper: self-respect. You do not become mentally strong in one dramatic moment. You become mentally strong through hundreds of small moments when you choose what is necessary over what is comfortable. And there will be days when you fail. There will be days when you fall back into old habits. There will be mornings when you waste time, nights when you lose discipline, and moments when you disappoint yourself. Do not turn one failure into an identity. Falling is not the problem. Staying down because you have convinced yourself that you cannot rise again. That is the real danger. Be ruthless enough to begin again. Do not spend 3 months punishing yourself for one bad day. Learn from it and return to the path. Do not let one failure become an excuse for another failure. The strongest people are not those who never make mistakes. They are the people who refuse to make the same mistake their permanent home. You must also become ruthless with the excuses that come disguised as comfort. Sometimes your greatest enemy will not look like an enemy. It will look like your favorite distraction, your phone, endless scrolling, constant entertainment, complaining, sleeping when you should be working, talking about your goals instead of pursuing them. Comfort is not always evil, but too much comfort can quietly destroy your potential. If you always choose the easiest path, your ability to handle difficult paths becomes weaker. So challenge yourself. Do something difficult while nobody is applauding. Keep going when the results are invisible. Work quietly. Build patiently. Let your actions become stronger than your words. And remember this: you do not need to become ruthless toward people. Become ruthless toward the habits that are destroying your future. Be ruthless toward procrastination. Be ruthless toward dishonesty with yourself. Be ruthless toward the sentence, "I cannot." Be ruthless toward the habit of waiting for tomorrow, because your future is being shaped by what you repeatedly do today. One day you will look back and realize that your life did not change because someone came to rescue you. It changed because you finally stopped negotiating with the weaker version of yourself. The moment you stop making excuses is the moment you begin taking your power back. Not everyone deserves access to your mind, your energy, or your peace. This is one of the hardest lessons to learn because many of us are taught to be available to everyone. We are taught to explain ourselves, to keep everyone happy, to forgive repeatedly, and to remain in situations that slowly destroy our inner stability. But there comes a point when kindness without boundaries becomes self-neglect. Protecting your peace does not mean becoming cold. It means becoming wise about what you allow into your life. You cannot control how people behave, but you can control how much access their behavior has to you. There will always be people who misunderstand you. There will always be someone who criticizes your decisions, questions your character, or tries to pull you into unnecessary conflict. If you spend your entire life trying to correct every misunderstanding, you will have no energy left to build your own life. Not every accusation deserves a response. Not every argument deserves your attention. Not every person deserves an explanation. Sometimes silence is not weakness. Sometimes silence is discipline. When you become serious about protecting your peace, you begin to understand the difference between reacting and responding. Reaction is immediate. Someone says something offensive and you answer instantly. Someone disrespects you and you feel compelled to prove your worth. Someone ignores you and you chase them for an explanation. Someone walks away and you spend days wondering what you did wrong. Response is different. Response gives you space. You breathe, you observe, you ask yourself, is this situation worth my energy? And sometimes the strongest answer is no. You do not have to attend every battle simply because someone invited you to fight. Your peace is valuable because your attention is valuable. Where your attention goes, your life follows. If you spend your days thinking about people who hurt you, people who rejected you, people who envy you, or people who constantly create drama, then even when they are physically absent, they are still controlling your mind. That is too expensive a price to pay. Learn to leave some things unanswered. Learn to walk away from conversations that are designed only to provoke you. Learn to recognize when someone is not looking for understanding, but looking for a reaction. And most importantly, learn that boundaries are not punishments. A boundary is simply a decision about what you will and will not accept. You can say, I will not continue this conversation if there is disrespect. You can say, I cannot give my energy to this right now. You can say, this relationship is no longer healthy for me. You can step away without hatred. You can forgive someone without allowing them back into the same position in your life. You can wish someone well from a distance. This is emotional strength. Many people confuse peace with the absence of problems. But real peace is the ability to remain centered even when problems exist around you. You may have difficult people around you. You may face criticism. You may experience disappointment. You may lose relationships. You may be misunderstood. The goal is not to create a life where nobody ever disturbs you. The goal is to become a person who does not surrender their inner world every time someone else behaves badly. Think about how much energy is wasted trying to control other people. You cannot force someone to respect you. You cannot force someone to appreciate you. You cannot force someone to understand your intentions. You cannot force someone to love you. The moment you accept this, something changes. You stop chasing. You stop begging. You stop explaining yourself to people who have already decided what they want to believe. And you begin investing that energy into something you can actually control: yourself, your growth, your character, your discipline, your future, your peace. There will be people who only value you when you are useful to them. There will be people who become uncomfortable when you establish boundaries because they benefited from your lack of boundaries. Do not mistake their discomfort for proof that you are doing something wrong. Sometimes when you change, people become angry because they can no longer access the version of you they were comfortable controlling. Let them be angry. You are not responsible for making everyone comfortable with your growth, but protecting your peace does not mean isolating yourself from everyone. Do not build walls so high that love, friendship, wisdom, and genuine connection cannot reach you. The goal is not isolation. The goal is discernment. Know who deserves your trust. Know who respects your boundaries. Know who celebrates your growth without secretly competing with you. Know who listens when you speak. Know who remains present when you have nothing to offer. And when you find those people, value them deeply. Because peace is not only about removing negative people. It is also about surrounding yourself with people who make you want to become better. Your environment matters. Your conversations matter. The things you watch matter. The words you repeatedly hear matter. If you constantly surround yourself with anger, negativity, gossip, and fear, eventually those things begin to influence the way you see the world. So protect what enters your mind. Protect your mornings. Protect your focus. Protect your time. Protect your emotional energy. You do not need to know everything everyone is saying about you. You do not need to monitor every person who dislikes you. You do not need to prove that you are a good person to people committed to misunderstanding you. Keep building, keep learning, keep becoming stronger. Let your life speak louder than your explanations. And when someone tries to pull you into chaos, remember that you always have a choice. You can react or you can remain still. You can argue or you can walk away. You can chase approval or you can choose self-respect. You can surrender your peace or you can protect it. The strongest person in the room is not always the loudest one. Sometimes it is the person who has every reason to react, but has enough control to remain calm. That is the kind of ruthlessness you need. Not ruthlessness toward people, ruthlessness toward anything that repeatedly steals your peace. Fear becomes powerful when you allow it to make your decisions for you. It tells you to stay where you are, avoid rejection, avoid failure, avoid discomfort, and wait until everything feels safe. But if you keep obeying fear, your world becomes smaller and smaller. You may still be alive, but you are no longer moving toward the life you could have built. This is why you must become ruthless with your comfort zone, not reckless, not careless, and not cruel to yourself, but unwilling to let fear permanently control your choices. Comfort feels safe because it asks nothing from you. It allows you to repeat the same routines, think the same thoughts, and remain surrounded by the same limitations. But comfort can quietly become a prison when you refuse to leave it. Every meaningful transformation requires some form of discomfort. If you want to become stronger, you must experience resistance. If you want to become wiser, you must be willing to make mistakes. If you want confidence, you must enter situations where you are not completely confident. If you want a different life, you must eventually do something different. You cannot become a new version of yourself while constantly protecting the old version from discomfort. Fear will tell you, what if you fail? Ask yourself instead, what if I never try? Fear will tell you, people might judge you. Ask, will their opinions matter 5 years from now? Fear will tell you, you are not ready. Answer, I can become ready by beginning. You do not defeat fear by waiting for it to disappear. You defeat it by proving that you can move while it is still there. This is an important difference. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is action despite fear. There will be moments when your hands shake, your mind doubts you, and your heart tells you to turn back. Those moments are not necessarily signs that you should stop. Sometimes they are signs that you are standing at the edge of growth. Take one step, then another. You do not need to conquer your entire future today. You only need enough courage for the next decision. Maybe it is finally starting the project you have postponed for months. Maybe it is having an honest conversation. Maybe it is learning a skill that makes you uncomfortable. Maybe it is applying for an opportunity even though you think you might be rejected. Maybe it is changing a habit that has controlled you for years. Start small, but start. Because every time you face discomfort instead of escaping it, you teach your mind something powerful. I can handle this. And that belief becomes strength. Do not confuse comfort with peace. Peace gives you stability while you grow. Comfort sometimes gives you an excuse to remain unchanged. There is nothing wrong with resting. There is nothing wrong with enjoying your life. But there is danger in making comfort your permanent home. You were not meant to spend your entire life avoiding difficult things. You were meant to develop the strength to face them. So when fear appears, do not immediately ask how you can escape. Ask what it is trying to teach you. Perhaps it is teaching you patience, perhaps courage, perhaps discipline. Perhaps that you are stronger than you believed. Walk toward the challenge with awareness. You may fail, you may stumble, you may discover that your first attempt was not enough. But failure is information. It tells you where you need to improve. The person who never fails is often the person who never seriously challenges themselves. Your comfort zone will always offer you reasons to stay. Growth will rarely be comfortable. Choose growth anyway, because one day the discomfort you are avoiding today may become the regret you carry tomorrow. And regret can be heavier than failure. Fail while learning, fall while moving, be uncomfortable while becoming stronger, but do not remain trapped simply because fear asked you to stay. The goal is not to become fearless. The goal is to become stronger than the fear that once controlled you. Real strength is not about becoming the person who can dominate everyone around you. It is about becoming the person who can control himself when life becomes difficult. Anyone can appear strong when everything is going according to plan. The real test begins when things fall apart, when people disappoint you, when your plans fail, when nobody supports you, and when the results you wanted refuse to appear. This is where you must become ruthless about becoming your strongest self. You must stop waiting for the perfect circumstances to begin. There will always be something missing. More money, more time, more confidence, more knowledge, more support, more opportunities. If you keep waiting until everything is perfect, you may spend your entire life waiting. Start with what you have. Use what you know. Build from where you are. Your strength is not created by wishing for a better life. It is created by taking responsibility for the life you have right now. Responsibility can feel heavy, but it also gives you power. When you blame everything outside yourself, you give your power away. When you accept responsibility for your choices, your habits, your reactions, and your direction, you begin taking that power back. You cannot control everything that happens to you, but you can train yourself to control what happens inside you. That is real strength. When someone insults you, you control your response. When failure arrives, you decide whether you will learn or surrender. When temptation appears, you decide whether your goals are more important than your temporary desire. When life becomes uncomfortable, you decide whether you will continue. Every decision is training you. You are either strengthening yourself or weakening yourself. This is why consistency matters more than intensity. You do not need to transform your entire life in one day. You need to make better choices repeatedly. One disciplined morning becomes a disciplined week. One disciplined week becomes a disciplined month. Eventually, those actions become part of your identity. You begin to see yourself differently. You become someone who keeps promises, someone who finishes what they start, someone who does not collapse when circumstances change, someone who can remain calm when others lose control, someone who does not need constant applause to continue. That person is built quietly. Nobody may notice the hours you spend improving yourself. Nobody may see the moments when you choose discipline over comfort. Nobody may congratulate you when you refuse to return to an old habit. Do it anyway. You are not building yourself for applause. You are building yourself because you have decided that your life deserves your full effort. And remember, becoming your strongest self does not mean becoming perfect. Perfection is another trap. You will make mistakes. You will have weak days. You will lose focus. You will sometimes choose comfort. What matters is how quickly you return. Do not demand perfection from yourself. Demand honesty. Demand effort. Demand consistency. Demand that you keep moving. The strongest version of you is not someone who never struggles. It is someone who has learned how to struggle without surrendering. There will come a day when you realize that the things that once destroyed your confidence no longer control you. The rejection that once broke you taught you resilience. The failure that embarrassed you taught you patience. The difficult season that made you question everything taught you how to stand alone. That is transformation. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" And you begin asking, "What can this teach me?" That single change in perspective can completely transform your life. So become ruthless about your growth. Read when you could waste an hour scrolling. Practice when nobody is watching. Stay disciplined when motivation disappears. Choose your long-term future over your short-term comfort. And never forget that the person you become tomorrow is being created by the decisions you make today. You do not need to become someone else. You need to remove the habits, fears, excuses, and weaknesses that keep you from becoming who you are capable of being. Build yourself quietly. Build yourself patiently. Build yourself every day. Because when the world becomes difficult, and it will, you should not need the world to become softer. You should be strong enough to remain standing. Maybe the world was never meant to become easier for you. Maybe the difficult people, painful moments, failures, rejection, and unexpected challenges were not sent to destroy you, but to reveal the strength you had never been forced to discover. Be ruthless with your excuses. Be ruthless with the habits that weaken you. Be ruthless with the fear that keeps you small. Be ruthless about protecting your peace. And above all, be ruthless about becoming the person you know you are capable of becoming. But never confuse ruthlessness with cruelty. You do not need to become heartless to become strong. You need discipline without hatred, boundaries without bitterness, courage without arrogance, silence without weakness, and strength without losing your humanity. The world may test you again and again. People may disappoint you. Plans may fail. Doors may close. You may fall more than once. But remember this: you are not finished because you fell. You are finished only when you decide not to rise again. So when life pushes you down, get back up. When fear tells you to stop, take another step. When your old habits call you back, choose your future. When nobody believes in you, become the person who believes enough to continue. And when the world tries to break you, let it discover something different about you. You bend, but you do not surrender. You struggle, but you continue. You fall, but you rise wiser. You lose, but you learn. You hurt, but you heal. And eventually you become someone who no longer needs an easy life to remain strong. So ask yourself tonight, what part of me needs to become stronger? Your answer may be the beginning of your transformation. If this message spoke to something inside you, carry these words with you, not just for today, but for the moments when life becomes difficult and you are tempted to give up. Remember, the goal is not to become ruthless toward the world. The goal is to become ruthless toward the version of yourself that keeps holding you back. Thank you for spending these moments with us here on the Wisdom of Shaolin. If this message gave you strength, motivation, or a new perspective, support the channel by liking this video, subscribing, and sharing it with someone who may need to hear these words today. Until the next message, stay disciplined, protect your peace, strengthen your mind, and keep walking forward. Because the world may try to break you, but it does not get to decide whether you rise. Stay strong, stay focused, and never stop becoming.